Next up, we're talking about is another really good noon game. Duke at number 5, Miami. It's on ABC. Really, Dalton, this is Miami's most difficult game the rest of the season. Right now, the Hurricanes are 8-0. They're ranked in the top 5 for the first time in 7 years. But that perfect record hasn't come without some close calls. They had games against Virginia Tech, Cal, and Louisville that all went down to the wire and were all decided by one possession. Those three are 3 of the 4 teams Miami's played this year that are inside the top 45 of PFF's power rankings. The other one was Florida in that week 1 game where they blew out Florida. Duke is 30th in PFF's power ranking right now, making them easily the highest ranked team Miami has left on its regular season schedule. And the Blue Devils are having a great year of their own. They're 6-2 for the first time in 9 years, in year 1 under Manny Diaz as head coach. So this is Miami's probably most difficult game the rest of the year.
Yeah, I would agree, especially with what Manny Diaz is doing on defense. And even at a loss to SMU last week, we saw how good his defense is, right? He's brought that same mentality, that aggressive mentality he had at Penn State before that and all his other stops, and before 6 turnovers last week. So I think Miami has to be very careful here. Like, his Duke, they have a certain style that they play. They know who they are. Do they always score the most points in the world? No, but they absolutely know what they want to do. So this can be, for a gunslinger like Cam Ward, this could be a problem against this Duke defense.
Absolutely. So go into that a little bit more, Dolan. So you have the Miami offense in this game. So when Cam Ward, one of the Heisman Trophy favorites right now, goes up against that stingy Duke defense, what should we be looking out for?
So definitely we've seen this season where there have been moments, maybe not as consistently as his prior seasons, where Cam Ward can still kind of put the ball in danger a little bit, right? We saw it against Virginia Tech. We saw it against Cal. We only saw one bad throw. I think it was against Cal. There was a real bad pick 6, but we didn't see many bad throws when he played Louisville, but Louisville's got a struggling secondary. Duke's a different animal on defense. Manny Diaz has them rolling 4th best coverage grade in the entire nation right now. And you look at what they are doing to cause quarterbacks problems, okay? They have forced quarterbacks into 21 turnover-worthy plays this year. They lead the Power 5 with 19 takeaways, and they blitz at one of the highest rates in the country right there on pass plays. Look, I think the biggest matchup for me in this game is if Duke can get Miami into long situations. And we know Cam Ward's been really good on 3rd down when you give him time, but against the blitz, he's at least been human, right? It's a little bit lighter against the blitz. He gets rid of the ball quicker, knowing he's got to beat the blitz with his arm. We saw him against Louisville. When they were sending only 3 or 4, he was buying time all day. When Cam Ward gets to improvise and break the pocket and find guys downfield, that's when he gets really, really fun. But when teams have been blitzing him, then he goes with the hot reads, right? He goes with the shorter throws. He's not killing you downfield. So he hasn't necessarily been bad against the blitz. He's just been human. I think the thing for me with Manny Diaz that makes him unique with his blitzes is the amount and the types of zone blitzes that he runs, right? Because if you zero blitz Cam Ward, there's too many guys out there one-on-one. Somebody's going to win. Probably Xavier Restrepo. Somebody's going to win. Or man coverage, if it's protected right, Ward's just going to take off and run. I think zone blitzes, even though he hasn't seen a ton of them this year, you can see Cam Ward being just a little bit more bothered. I'm not saying at all that this is a thing that, this is for sure. Duke's going to win the game like this. This is kryptonite. Not at all, because Cam Ward, he's one of the best quarterbacks in the country. But I think you have a thing where it's at least a window, and Duke runs the 2nd most zone blitzes of any team in the country. Manny Diaz, as long as they can get in good down and distance situations for his defense, I think the zone blitzing is something that could bother Ward. They need to not let him break the pocket, and they need to actually, it sounds funny, but I think they are more comfortable with Ward getting the ball out of his hands quicker in 2.5 seconds or less, because when he extends and he breaks the pocket and he starts looking downfield when he's just creeping out of the pocket in space by himself, then you have a serious problem where he makes those game-changing plays. So I expect Manny Diaz, the one thing against SMU last week, Kevin Jennings was a guy that you don't want to blitz, okay? Cam Ward, so Diaz didn't do it. Cam Ward is a guy maybe you do just so you get the ball out of his hands, take a chance on the outside making tackles, and let your secondary work.
Absolutely, because their secondary has been really, really good this year. So you're banking on that bothering Cam Ward. And the other side is the same thing, Dawn, is can Miami bother Malik Murphy? So Duke's had its fair share of offensive struggles this year. They're really much a very defensive team, obviously under Manny Diaz. But the one thing offensively they have been able to rely on is the offensive line to protect the quarterback at an elite level. So far this year, the Blue Devils have only allowed a sack or a hit on 3.4% of their pass blocking snaps. That's the 9th lowest rate in the country. They have a 16% pressure rate allowed. That's 12th lowest in the country. Malik Murphy, big quarterback, not a very mobile quarterback though. So in a clean pocket, he's an 83.4 PFF grade, really solid. When he's under pressure, that drops to a 45.9 PFF grade. So fortunately for him, he's got an offensive line that really protects him and allows him to get those clean pockets. But when he is under pressure, you've seen a lot of warts. I mean, you see a lot of times he has a big arm, the inaccuracies show up. When he doesn't have a stable platform to throw from, that's when you see him airmail passes a lot, or even short throw passes a lot as well. The issue in this game for Duke, though, Miami leads the nation in pressure rate at 43%, and they're second in pass rush win rate at 52.1%. Dalton, we were at that Miami-Louisville game, and we were on the field, and we were looking at Miami's D-line. We're like, dude, that's an NFL D-line.
Monsters.
Right there. Monsters. Tyler Barron, Ruben Bain Jr., Simeon Barrow, bunch of other guys, too, that are really, really good players. So those guys are really going to test Duke's offensive line, a really good offensive line, more than ever before. But if they can protect him, Miami has shown some vulnerabilities in their secondary in recent weeks. So Murphy could have opportunities to win downfield as long as the offensive line gives them time. It also should be noted, Malik Murphy leads the nation in average time to throw, only 2.2 seconds. He's the fastest quarterback in the country getting rid of the football. So that does take a lot of the pressure off the offensive line, but I still think this is a critical matchup for Duke to create explosive passing plays down the field like other offenses like Louisville did too. They've been able to do it against Miami when you protect them. But if you can't protect them, then that's when Malik Murphy and other quarterbacks against Miami start to get in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, the front four is the foundation of Miami's defense, and I thought Murphy played his best game of the season last week against SMU. I don't think by any means was he the reason that they lost that football game. They just didn't finish drives. They didn't capitalize on SMU's mistakes, but he threw the ball really well. He's going to have to be at least as good as he was last week, if not better. But you mentioned it. If you can get the ball into Miami's secondary, they have been struggling. They've been giving up a lot of points and a lot of big plays. So if Duke can protect, if their offensive line has been as good as it has been all year, and Murphy does get rid of the ball and make some big throws downfield, last week I believe he had 3 or 4 big-time throws, then you talk about that's when Duke can have a chance at this thing.
Absolutely. So, Dalton, in Miami's most difficult game the rest of the season, will they pull it off and continue their undefeated year, or will Duke pull off a massive upset?
I think Miami gets it done here. I think Duke's coming off a very emotional week last week with the loss that they took to SMU, and you have this element to me. Duke has to be absolutely perfect on both sides of the ball to win this game. Murphy, I think, has to play maybe the best game of his career. The zone blitzes and everything Manny Diaz does, that he did a great job with Kevin Jennings last week, but they forced 6 turnovers in that game, and SMU still found a way to score 28 points. So it's just hard when you're playing great offenses to always play those tight to the vest games. I've got Miami 30 and Duke 21. I could see absolutely a road where Duke competes here. I think their defense is legitimately really good, but they need Murphy to keep his cool, especially if he's going to be under pressure against this front four. And to win this game, I think he would have to be absolutely perfect. I don't see a road where Duke, after last week when they played so good on defense and just didn't come through with it, I don't see a road where they play an absolutely perfect game in this environment against this Miami team with Cam Ward, who there's not a whole lot of answers for.
Absolutely. So you have Duke easily covering the 3-touchdown spread that is on that right
now.
Yeah,
I think their defense is better than that. I think it can travel. Now, I do understand the idea behind what Miami could do if their defense shows up and Duke's offense just can't find points, but I don't know that Duke is 3 touchdowns worse than Miami. And we've seen Miami at a lot of points, in ACC play look shaky. Right? I mean, between the comebacks they've had and even against Louisville, their defense had a lot of issues against Louisville and Tyler Shuck. And look, Duke, are they the most dynamic offense ever? No, but they're opportunistic, and their defense, I think their defense can keep them in this game.
I agree with that. I don't really agree with the 3-touchdown spread either. I have Miami winning this one 35-20. I do think the defense will keep it interesting early. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a bad interception or two from Cam Ward, because Manny Diaz is I know as a Penn State fan, such a great defensive mind, just making quarterbacks uncomfortable, honestly. And it's very hard. Cam Ward is probably the most comfortable quarterback in the country, the way he plays back there. He's so nonchalant. I love his play style. But Manny Diaz is still an elite guy at making quarterbacks uncomfortable. I think you can see that in this game against Cam Ward. Now, is it ultimately going to be enough for Duke to pull off the upset? I don't think so. But I think it's enough to cover the 3-touchdown spread. So it'll be close early, but it's impossible for Duke to hold Cam Ward down for too long, especially if the offense just does not perform. So I think Miami's going to win this game 35-20 and continue its undefeated season.